Hello.
Hello, hello.
Gosh, we're back.
It's been a while.
It's been over a year for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
It was the summer of 23, I feel like, where we were doing these lives pretty consistently. And we stopped. We had to focus on a lot of other things. And we, that doesn't mean the ideas in our brains, especially Angela's brain, stopped coming. And we love to talk about it.
Ideas in the brain are constant. So either way, a little background for anybody that hasn't seen our lives before, or hasn't been to my YouTube channel or anything like that. Basic concept is that it's a really broad platform in terms of the YouTube channel and in terms of what we do on live. It could be anywhere from business topics, which obviously Kristen and I, when it comes to business, we operate and own 3 businesses together. And then in addition to that, we also, of course, have a few decades of friendship that literally dates us back to, we've known each other since 1st grade, but really became best friends in 6th grade. And now, we both have families. She's got 3 kids. I've got 4. Together we have 7.
We're pretty much in an entanglement.
Yeah.
So any of the topics, business or personal, we are, both on the same page with a lot of it. We sometimes have different perspectives because we are different people. But Angela's always been super curious to crawl into the minds of others, and hopefully I help her do that because I don't have a filter. So whenever she's wondering, what are people thinking?
It is. It's actually quite a relief to me to know that I have somebody as close as Kristen is to me that I can kind of count on to go, oh, wait, help me understand this. I do want to put something out there. When there's conversations happening around hot topics or views or perspectives or opinions, none of this is designed to call out right or wrong. None of this is designed to be in judgment of what other people's opinions are, other people's lifestyles, any of that. None of that is the case. For me, it's really about the willingness to analyze, the willingness to try to understand one another, the willingness to try to hear and see other people's perspectives, to leave the space as individuals when we hear other people's views to go, let me think about that, or I didn't see it from that perspective before.
Or maybe you haven't even thought about it at all. So
right.
Put some thought into it. These
exactly.
are just random things that come up that we think about and have opinions on. It doesn't mean, and honestly, you're going to hear later in today's topic that she has a certain viewpoint of things that is different than mine, and we're so curious, what what everybody else's is.
Right.
So that being said, let's get to it.
So, a little context for the topic of drop-off parenting. I wouldn't say at least a year ago, I have 4 kids. My oldest is right now 13. And so he's in 8th grade and he's very much into sports. My daughter's very much into sports as well and the arts and different things. And so are my 2 younger ones. So 4 very active kids, obviously doing school. During these years now, obviously 13 or 9 years of dealing with education and progressively getting more busy in terms of kids' activities, I witnessed something that has happened, and I'm going to use one specific example, which is sports. And initially, this was the name of this video was actually going to be the death of rec leagues, and that was going to be the topic that was going to be discussed. And it was kind of on my list of the first or second video that we were going to do when we went live again. And the observations I was making, going, man, this is crazy. I would say that was really important part of culturally, right? Of us growing up. And when we looked at rec leagues growing up, it was, it was training grounds to learn a new sport. It was kind of it was definitely just activity.
I feel like everybody played.
Yeah.
Everybody played.
We lived in a suburb, borderline, rural area. At least at the time it was like that. And we would have approaching at least and this is per, whether you talk elementary school, middle school, high school, you were talking about 1,000, upwards of 1,000 kids playing it. We would have I think about softball you were talking about, and this was in middle school. We had at least 10 teams.
like 10 teams just for Freedom Optimists that would play
Right.
against each
and
other.
each one of those
just
teams
in
would
Eldersburg.
probably have like 15 kids, if not more,
Yeah.
depending on like if they had enough coaches, right?
Yep.
Parent volunteer coaches to be able to support it. And these rec leagues were 100% volunteer based, right? Parents were coaching, parents were the commissioners. These were rec council sponsored sports. So you had rec council, which of course in the rec council for the area, more than likely have some paid positions, but again, mostly volunteer. Now I'm like looking at this going, what in the world? What's going on with these rec leagues? Like, why are there, like, literally my son, who in middle school played baseball for the local area rec league, and there was one team. They fielded one team for the entire Cockeysville, this is a very large population, especially compared to where we grew up, large population area. And I'm like, what do you mean there's only one team?
Literally, Archie, my husband, is a basketball coach for my daughter's teams. And I watched him struggle to recruit his own players. Like, he's having my daughters ask their friends, like, do you want to play? Because there's just not enough registration. There's not enough,
Well, but is it registration, or do you get the answers that I got when I asked my son, why is there only one team for baseball for rec league? And he said, well, they all play travel.
Yes.
They all play travel or they play club, which translate that into the parents are paying. I'm sitting here going, this is my initial thought when I came to this realization about why the rec leagues are like just dying and dwindling, and why there's like so much fewer teams and kids playing. I'm like, are these parents disillusioned? Because I can tell you right now, these kids playing, when we were growing up, when you played travel or club, it's because you were some of the best kids at that particular school.
Why are the parents spending this much time and money on something? Is it because they're disillusioned and they think their kid is that good? I didn't think so.
Yeah. Now I'm going to kind of bring in, and we're going to introduce the whole drop-off parenting approach, right? So growing up, I was very fortunate, not only to have like married parents, but they also were like just massive volunteers. I grew up with what I would call volunteer culture.
Yeah.
Now, so I want to kind of preface everything I'm about to say about drop-off parenting with acknowledging my experience.
And I'm going to have a different perspective based on my experience.
Exactly. So what I came to realize is as I was entering into, for my kids in their elementary school, I was like the homeroom parent. I lost my mind temporarily for a second and became the PTA president. And, did that for a year, quickly out of it, but like organizing a lot of events, you just participating, supporting, whatever it would be. And mind you, again, this is in my wheelhouse in terms of my skill set. Like I'm a project manager. I am an event planner. Like this is
serial entrepreneur.
So again, I recognize that I think I was outside of the norm, but again, I still think I was like, oh, well, like people see the same thing I see, which is, my view was one of the most important things I am here to do as a parent is to be visibly present, right? So whether it's for their education, whether it's for their sports, whether it's for their activities, whether it's for their hobbies and their passions with their friends, like I want to be visibly present.
Yeah.
And again, because that's what I experienced growing up, so it was like gratitude, for the fact that
you have put a lot of time, thought, and energy into what kind of parent you want to be, and then you're making sure that you're prioritizing that.
Which, by
no
the
matter
way,
if it's hard, you're good at that.
I also believe most parents feel that way. I believe that most parents are doing their best. They want to be thoughtful about how to be good parents, and
I think most parents are doing their best. I think that a lot of parents, especially of multiple kids with both parents working, or even single parent households, a lot of people are just trying to make it through the day, honestly.
Yeah.
They want to be thoughtful. Yeah, in an ideal world, we could be intentional about how we're parenting, but some people are just trying to survive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of people just in pure survival mode. So a recent activity that I picked up at my kids' middle school, me and another parent are the chair, the lead main organizers for.
Of course you are.
Yeah. Where we grew up, it's going on, but this has been a multiple decades long event. And it was at the risk of getting retired because last year and the years prior, and mind you, there's like minimum, I think like almost 3,000 kids in my kids' middle school, and 200 to 300 kids that show up to this event that we require, because again, it's pure volunteer. Nobody's paid. It's a pure volunteer based event that has a bare minimum, like bare bones requirement of having 20 parents, volunteers there, you know, to make sure that bad things aren't happening.
For each
like,
event, 20 parents?
Yes.
And you were thinking, that shouldn't be hard.
That's a piece of cake, right? But I saw
out of 3, once a month?
Once a school year.
Once a school.
That's all we were asking, once a school year. Not even like every event. So, however, an event that we've already hired and paid a DJ to come to, hired off-duty police officers to run security for, hired maintenance to run extra cleanup for us.
By the way, it's a fun event. The kids were really enjoying it.
Well, here's the reality of what happened. The parents who are involved already at school, the ones who are already coaching, volunteer coaching for sports, the ones who are already active are the same parents who would register to volunteer.
Yeah.
You know, and as the kids get older, that group gets tinier and tinier. Like, parents, I think, tend to be very involved in, like, you know, pre-K, kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade, they start to slow down a little bit, fourth, fifth, they slow down a little bit. You get them to middle school, and I think a lot of parents at that point are like, whoop,
we're done.
My job's done here. You know, they're independently functioning at this point, and I get it, because trust me, I'm counting down the minutes till my soon-to-be 14-year-old son can get his driver's license 2 years from now.
Parenting is hard, and it's exhausting, and we're tired. We get it.
So I get it.
It's hard.
But it was interesting because, again, you see the same faces, the same parents, like, popping up everywhere, and those parents just end up taking on more and more and more. It's the same parents. And so this go around in terms of, like, this particular event, and, like, let's get more parents involved. And it's not just going to be like, hey, here's $10 for my kid's entry fee, you know, to get into this event, and, you know, and then
bye,
and then drop them off.
Drop and roll.
Right? And roll.
Parents love to drop and roll. I'm telling you, when my kids have, I don't know if I call them play dates because my kids are a little older, but when they're hanging out with their friends and the parents are dropping them off, it's always like a relief when you can drop and roll.
Sure. I mean, parenting children in their life.
Yeah.
I am here to also teach my kids how to have basic life skills. That is the role of the parents, right? And that's how I've seen it. It is not the job of teachers and coaches to parent children, other people's children. The role of a coach and a teacher is to coach and teach that specific thing that they're there to do. But this is my opinion, to be clear, that it doesn't change what the role of the parent is there to be, which is to parent.
Yeah.
And again, to be the number one educator to your child throughout the course of when they're small to teenage years, and even into their early 20s, until they're out there with a fully developed brain, like leading an independent life, and able to,
can't check out. You just can't
make those choices. And then we're still present there as a support system. I used to always joke and say, like, my dad would just, like, he had endless advice for me growing up, and then at 19, I finally start to grow up, and I realize how valuable my dad's advice and direction is, because I certainly didn't appreciate it when I was a teenager. And I remember going to him seeking specific, Dad, what do you think about this? Can you give me some suggestions? And he was like, you know what to do. I'm like, what in the world? I've been voiding your advice for 19 years, and I finally went it, and he's telling me I know what to do. And it was actually, I think, a really poignant thing to have happen, which is, like, he felt confident that he had done his job, to raise me and be an all-encompassing educator and parent to me in my life, and teach me all those life skills and things that I need. And so bringing this back, of course, to the whole drop-off parenting thing, is to say the struggle that it has been since over the last, and I'll not say 13 years, because in terms of my son being 13, but, like, let's say specifically since he's been school age, right? So since for the last 9 years, it has been a real kind of, like, whoa, like kind of shocking and like, and confusing. Maybe that's really the best word. Confusing for me because I'm like, why are parents so quick to just constantly just find outlets to the point, by the way, that they are willing to pay a lot of money into travel and club teams and other various activities to just be able to drop their children off? Because the alternative would be they would, if they're going to do rec, if they're going to do other types of volunteer based activities for their children, they would have to volunteer their time to do that.
Not trying to sound judgmental,
Right.
but like I have 3 children. I want to be involved in their lives. Like I want to be involved in what they're doing. I'm not the biggest volunteer person. I wasn't raised that way,
Yes.
and I don't do that a lot, but I am very invested into my kids' lives and everything that they're doing.
Like when I made the conscious decision that I wanted to be a mom, that my kids would be, and they would have no question through the course of their entire life, that they were my greatest priority. That it doesn't mean that I'm here to raise perfect kids. As a matter of fact, I've got 4 incredibly unique human beings. They're all their own people. They all have their own gifts and talents, and they're all a pain in the ass in their own way. Okay, just to be clear. But I am very conscious to the realities that most parents are facing. And on top of that, you've got like financial challenges. But again, here's the other part I'll say. For parents who say that financially it's difficult for them, it is weird to me. I go, well, then the thing that's going to cost you the least amount of money is to volunteer your time.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you're in most of the organizations I've volunteered for, if you volunteer, like whether it's as a coach, whether it's like this event that we run at the school, if you volunteer, your kid doesn't pay anything.
Yeah.
And so it's, so really volunteering is a huge cost saving measure. And what I've seen in most cases is that parents will pay more money so that they don't feel the responsibility or the obligation to volunteer.
Yes, they want to disconnect. They don't want to engage. I had this one particular person, and this is one example of many, during COVID, who had their son home with them and was really struggling. I mean, she was about to throw herself out the window. She was like, this is horrible. She's like, since this child was 6 weeks old, they were dropped off at daycare at 6:30 a.m., picked up at 6:30 p.m. Maybe I'm exaggerating with 6 weeks old. Maybe it was like 10 weeks old.
Yeah,
and then when they entered school, they're in before school care, they're in after school care, anything so that
On
the
the
parents
weekends.
don't have to pay attention.
Yeah, on the
from
weekends,
6:30
she had
a.m. to
them
6:30 p.m.
stacked.
And I think that's
Yeah.
so sad because you're literally letting other people, you're depending on other people to raise your kid. Choose to be involved. And I have seen a lot of people in our generation choosing not to have kids because they've put the thought into it and they're like, I just like to be selfish. I want to be about me and my husband and what we want to do. And I'm like, you know what?
And I
Go
actually
ahead and do
really
you.
admire.
I do too.
I admire people who don't give in to the
Social norms, whatever they are.
societal pressure to do what they think other people expect from them, and instead they go, hey, it's not in my best interest or the best interest of a future kid who I don't really want to be a parent.
Or ask yourself,
You know?
like, why do I want kids?
Yeah.
Why do I want kids?
Yeah.
And if your intention is to just drop and roll for 18 years, maybe you want to.
Or quite frankly, if you're looking forward to those 18 years being over and feeling like they're not still your responsibility, they're going to always be your kids no matter what.
I will say, like, kind of to sum this up, like, we've shared what we think and how we feel and how we choose to prioritize and parent, and what we think is important to our values. Hopefully this is encouraging anyone who's watching who might have kids or might be thinking about having kids to just put some thought into it and ask, like, wait, what kind of parent did I want to be? Do I want to be? And am I doing what I need to do to make that a reality?
It's to also just keep in mind that we all share a lot more in common than we do in terms of differences and like in terms of challenges. And I think if you err on the side of assuming that you again have more in common than you realize, then it's going to make you more empathetic. It's going to make you more open-minded. And in this particular case is to really think about, what does it mean to not volunteer? What does it mean to not be visibly and physically present in the activities that are going on in your kids' lives. You know, the burden that you're potentially, instead of it being many hands make light work, you've got a few hands that are taking on everything. And what's interesting to me is like typically the parents who complain the most, the ones who are not happy with whatever it is going on in sports and school and activities, are the ones who are not volunteering. And
but they've got everything to say about the people that are.
Like I got an email when I sent out a message basically begging parents to volunteer for this event. And I had a parent say to me, it's not volunteering if you're requiring it. And I paid, you know, we paid the $10 for my kids to be there. And I was like, wow, you know, and we're really busy and we've got, you know, and this isn't our only child. And I said, you know, it's really unfortunate, this very defensive reaction that I got. And a lot of times people are defensive because it's their way of navigating guilt. Do your best to empathize, to assume we have more in common than we have different. And then to also kind of say like, hey, it is nobody else's responsibility to parent my child other than the parents. And, you know, and to not have any type of expectation on coaches or teachers or other parents to do that in your place.
The village is important, but the village is a supplement to the base, which is the parents parenting.
Exactly. Well, thank you guys so much. If for those of you that have stuck around and watched this video, I appreciate it.
And we'll be back soon with some more rambling.
Bye-bye.
Have a good day.